Chosen one, listen closely, because right now, everyone involved is finding out that karma is not a quote, it's a law. They're realizing it in real time. They're wishing they had never said your name with venom, never touched your life with dirty hands, because the consequences they thought would never come are arriving fast, and they're arriving accurate. And the wild part? You didn't even have to chase them. You didn't have to scheme. You didn't have to revenge plan. You just kept breathing, kept building, kept staying clean, and they keep unraveling. That contrast is the lesson. So hold on to this moment, because this is the chapter where you finally understand. You were never fighting alone. See, they thought they were attacking a regular person, a normal human being, someone they could intimidate, exhaust, and erase. But what actually happened was far bigger than they'll ever be able to explain. Because the moment they came for you with malicious intent, they triggered something ancient. They tripped a spiritual alarm system, an alarm that had been quiet, dormant, waiting since before you were even born. Because there are souls on this planet who don't just live here. They're stationed here, assigned, protected, and you, chosen one, are one of them. So when someone crosses a soul like that with cruelty, envy, or deceit, it doesn't just become drama. It becomes a cosmic filing, a spiritual record, a receipt that can't be deleted, buried, or rewritten. When they plotted against you, when they laughed at your pain, when they twisted your words, something else happened in the unseen. They felt it, a chill, a hesitation. That strange inner voice in their gut saying, "Stop." They heard the warning and ignored it anyway. And that one decision sealed everything that's unfolding now, because you weren't random. You weren't an easy target. You weren't just someone they could practice cruelty on and walk away untouched. No, you were a test they didn't know they were taking. And every single person who tried to destroy you was being evaluated by forces they can't see. And they failed spectacularly, because you didn't just survive what they did. You absorbed it. You processed it. You transmuted it. You took poison and turned it into power. And now that energy sits inside you like something loaded, something sacred, something dangerous to the wrong hands. A power you didn't even realize you were carrying. Your silence wasn't weakness. It was intelligence. It was strategy. It was spirit. While they were talking, you were watching. While they were performing, you were studying patterns. While they were celebrating, you were gathering data. You stayed 10 steps ahead without even moving. Because when people looked at you, they saw vulnerability. They saw softness. They saw someone they could pressure. What they couldn't see was the frequency you operate on. It's ancient. It's connected. It's backed by forces that don't negotiate. And when they crossed you, they didn't just hurt your feelings. They violated an order they don't have the spiritual clearance to comprehend. That's why what's happening to them now feels so precise, so targeted, so impossible to escape, because it is. And before we go deeper into this message, pause for just a second. Like this video, subscribe so we can reach 1,000 voices of faith. And comment 99 to send a signal of alignment to the universe, because what's happening right now is bigger than you think. Now listen, this part matters. They think what's happening to them is bad luck. They think it's random chaos. They think life is just unfair. But you and I both know the truth. This isn't random. This is customized consequence, tailored, fitted, measured. Designed to match the exact weight of what they did. Not because you cursed them. Not because you hexed them. Not because you wished pain on them. But because the universe is correcting an imbalance they created when they touched what was sacred. You were never just the victim in their story. You were the catalyst for their awakening. You were the mirror that showed them exactly what they were. You were the test that exposed their true nature. And now the results are in. And they're failing in ways that feel personal, because it is personal spiritually. Not personal like you're plotting against them. Personal like their actions were recorded. Personal like their intention was weighed. Personal like the unseen said, "We saw that." And now the bill has arrived. But don't get distracted by their downfall. Don't start staring at the fire, because what's happening to them is only half the story. The other half is you. You're about to step into a level of power they couldn't touch even if they spent their entire lives trying. But first you need to recognize what this season actually was. What looked like your breaking point was your activation sequence. They celebrated when you went quiet, when you stopped defending yourself. When you retreated into silence, they thought that was defeat. They thought that were you collapsing. They thought that was the end of you, but silence in a chosen one is not surrender. It's recalibration. It's the sound of someone plugging back into their source. It's the sound of someone accessing power they forgot they had. Every moment you didn't respond, you were upgrading. Every time you let them talk, you were watching who they really are. Every time you refused to argue, you were separating real from fake. You were shedding old skin, upgrading your discernment, sharpening your spirit, becoming untouchable in ways that would terrify them if they understood the future you're walking into. Your restraint wasn't fear, it was mercy, because the truth is you could have ended them. You had the receipts, you had the witnesses, you had the proof. You had every reason to destroy their reputation, expose their lies, and turn their own world against them. But you didn't, and that's how I know you're protected, because people without protection don't have that level of control. People without divine backing can't hold that much power and still choose peace. So remember this. You didn't lose your voice. You were refining it. You weren't weak. You were wise. You weren't falling behind. You were being repositioned, and now the universe is making an announcement on your behalf. Not with noise, not with drama, but with results. And the same people who laughed at you are now watching the consequences chase them with perfect aim while you rise clean hands, clear heart, steady breath into the version of you they were terrified you'd become. And they mistook that silence for weakness. They really thought you were scared to fight back, when the truth is you were too powerful to need to, because real power doesn't perform. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't beg to be understood. It doesn't chase validation, and it doesn't chase revenge. Real power waits. It watches. It lets people reveal their own intentions without interruption. And then it calmly steps aside and lets the universe do what it always does. Balance the scales. You were the pause between their action and their consequence. You were the gap, the grace period, the mercy they didn't deserve. Every time you walked away instead of engaging, you weren't avoiding conflict. You were giving them one more chance to stop, one more opportunity to correct course, one more moment to recognize what they were actually doing and who they were actually doing it to, but they didn't take that chance. They took your grace as permission. They went harder. They dug deeper. They pushed further. And that decision is what's destroying them now. Not your words, not your actions, their own energy returning to them. Every lie is boomeranging back. Every betrayal is circling around. Every manipulation is becoming the atmosphere they have to breathe, and the wildest part? You don't even have to watch it happen. You're too busy ascending to pay attention to their descent. But trust me, they're descending fast. And there's no parachute for spiritual freefall, because they didn't just attack you. They tried to steal from you. Not the obvious things, not your money, not your possessions. They went for something deeper, your essence, your energy, your spiritual DNA. They studied you. They watched how you moved. They copied your mannerisms. They stole your ideas. They mimicked your style. And they thought they could take what made you magnetic and make it theirs. But here's what happens when someone tries to steal sacred energy. It doesn't transfer. Corrupts. What looked beautiful on you becomes grotesque on them. What flowed naturally through you becomes forced when they try it. What elevated you starts dragging them down, because spiritual gifts aren't transferable through theft. They're assigned, coded, authorized, and when you try to wear someone else's anointing, it doesn't fit. Chokes you, suffocates you, it exposes you. Watch what's happening to them right now. Everything they copied from you is backfiring. Your confidence becomes arrogance in them. Your calm becomes emptiness in them. Your peace becomes numbness in them. The favor you carried becomes frustration when they try to access it. Because they thought they could duplicate you, but you can't photocopy an original. You can't download what's divinely encoded. You can't fake what's been forged through fire, prayer, patience, and pain. And now they're walking around wearing a costume, and it's not elevating them, it's exposing them. Every single thing they attempted to rob from you is now being extracted from them. Not as revenge, as restoration. The universe is repossessing what they tried to steal. And the interest rate on spiritual theft? Astronomical. They're not just losing what they took. They're losing what they already had. Their own gifts, their own opportunities, their own peace. Everything is being liquidated to pay a debt they didn't even know they were accumulating. And you're not even in that equation anymore. You're operating on a completely different frequency now, a level where their chaos can't reach you, a dimension where their energy can't touch you. You've been upgraded, elevated, repositioned, while they're scrambling to hold together what's slipping through their fingers. You're receiving downloads they couldn't comprehend even if someone explained it to them line by line. Your discernment is sharper. Your spirit is louder. Your path is clearer. This is what happens when people try to steal from the sacred. They don't just fail, they forfeit. So if this message activated something inside your knowing, hype this video right now. Like it, share it, and comment 99 if you're one of the ones who can feel the shift, because the chosen ones are finding each other in this season. And now listen closely, because they really thought they could destroy your reputation. The whispering started. The gossip spread. They twisted your truth into something unrecognizable. They painted you as the villain in a story where you were actually the hero. And for a while, let's be honest, it worked. People believed them. Connections went cold. Opportunities vanished. Your name got dragged through rooms you weren't even standing in. Your character was put on trial without your presence, without your defense, without your consent. But here's what they didn't understand: truth has a frequency that lies can't imitate. A lie can sound convincing, can wear makeup, can gain supporters, can even win for a season, but it can't hold its vibration. And eventually people start feeling the dissonance. They notice the inconsistencies. They sense that something doesn't add up. They start asking questions. And the moment they start asking questions, the whole narrative collapses. Because lies require maintenance, constant reinforcement, constant energy, constant performance. And liars always get tired. They always slip. They always contradict themselves. They always reveal the crack in the mask. Watch what's happening now. The same stories they told about you are being told about them. But this time the stories are true. The manipulation they accused you of, people are experiencing it from them firsthand. The toxicity they blamed you for, that's what everyone around them is finally seeing. The chaos they said you caused, that's what follows them everywhere. They go like a shadow that won't detach. They didn't destroy your reputation. They created a blueprint for their own destruction. And this is the part that's driving them insane. The exposure isn't coming from you. You're not campaigning. You're not gathering allies. You're not running around trying to explain yourself. You don't need to, because their own actions are screaming louder than anything you could ever say. They're exposing themselves. Every lie is unraveling. Every manipulation is backfiring. Every mask is cracking. Every performance is collapsing under the weight of time. And all you did was step back and let the implosion happen. You know what's even wilder? The people they convinced to turn on you are the first ones to see through them now. The ones who believed the lie become the loudest witnesses of the truth. Because when someone lies to you about another person, they're not just targeting that person. They're revealing their own capacity. They're showing you what they can do, what they're willing to do, and what they will eventually do to you. And sooner or later, everybody figures that out. The same people who co-signed the attack on you are now experiencing betrayal firsthand. And they're not as quiet as you were. Meanwhile, look at you. Your reputation is repairing itself without you lifting a finger. People are coming back. Apologies are showing up. Confessions are being made. I was wrong. I should have listened. I see it now. Not because you convinced them, but because the truth convinced them. Because your consistency spoke louder than their lies ever could, because your character proved itself under pressure, because you didn't collapse into bitterness. You didn't become what they called you. You stayed clean. You stayed anchored. You stayed you. And now you're standing on the other side of a smear campaign, looking cleaner than ever while they're drowning in the mud they tried to throw. They thought the trauma would be your ending. They thought the betrayal would crush you. They thought the loss would leave you powerless. They were wrong on every count. Because what people don't understand about chosen ones is this: pressure doesn't create breaking, it creates breakthrough. Every attack they launched was actually a key turning in a lock nobody knew existed. And with every turn you started remembering, not just lessons from this life, but something older, something deeper. Ancient knowledge began surfacing. Your intuition sharpened into something that feels like prophecy. You started seeing patterns in people before they even opened their mouths. You started reading energy like it was written in bold print. And you moved with a certainty that didn't come from confidence, it came from knowing. Deep, cellular, undeniable. You're not the same person anymore. And I don't mean that in some generic self-help way. I mean you literally operate on a different frequency now. What used to bother you doesn't even register. Who used to trigger you can't even reach you. Where you used to struggle now feels like you're walking through with codes they don't have. Doors are opening with no logical explanation. Opportunities are appearing you didn't apply for. Connections are forming that feel destined, not random. This is your initiation completing. This is your spiritual DNA activating. This is you remembering why you came here in the first place. And that's why they're panicking. Because they thought they were burying you, but they were planting you. They thought they were ending you, but they were awakening you. They thought they were breaking you, but they were unlocking you. And now you're rising with something in your eyes they can't understand. Calm they can't replicate. A power they can't imitate. A favor they can't block. They thought they were attacking a regular person. But they were never attacking just a person. They were attacking a divine assignment. And divine assignments don't get canceled. They don't get erased. They don't get buried. They get accelerated. So hear me when I say this. You are not recovering from what they did. You're ascending because of it. And the altitude you're reaching, they can't breathe up here. Their chaos can't survive at this elevation. Their manipulation can't function at this frequency. Their tactics don't work in this atmosphere. You've become untouchable, not in an arrogant way, in a vibrational way. You're operating on levels they can't access. Even if they had a map. Even if someone tried to explain it to them line by line. And every day you rise higher while they sink deeper. They wanted to see you destroyed. Instead, they're watching you become indestructible. And that's the punishment they never saw coming. Because this is the moment everything changes. Right now. Not someday. Not eventually. Right now. What's happening to them isn't building anymore. It has arrived. The invoice just landed. And the amount due is everything they thought they'd never lose. This is divine justice in real time, beautiful, brutal, undeniable. They're waking up to financial situations that make no sense. Money that was flowing has stopped. Opportunities that were guaranteed have vanished. Deals that were locked have fallen through. And they can't figure out why. They're checking their bank accounts like a mistake was made. There wasn't. The universe is collecting. And it's not interested in payment plans. This is full price, due immediately. No exceptions. And watch their relationships. They're imploding in ways that feel coordinated. Partners are leaving. Friends are distancing. Family members are questioning. Because the mask is slipping. The performance is ending. And when the truth becomes visible, it's ugly. People who used to defend them are now calling them out. People who used to believe them are now spreading the real story. The support system they built on lies is collapsing in real time. And then watch their health. Watch their sleep. Watch their peace. It's deteriorating, not slowly, rapidly. They can't rest. They can't think clearly. They can't shake the feeling that something is following them, because something is. Consequence. It's been tracking them since the moment they crossed you. And now it has caught up. Spiritual insomnia. Mental chaos. Physical manifestations of energetic debt. Their bodies are rejecting the frequency they've been living in. Because they violated something sacred, and the nervous system knows. And here's the craziest part. You're not even thinking about them. While their entire world is burning down your building. You're creating. You're craving life again. You're expanding. You've moved on so completely that they don't even cross your mind anymore. And that's what's killing them. Not just what they're losing, but what you're gaining. Not just their collapse, but your elevation. Because it's proof. Undeniable proof. That they were never the gods they thought they were, and you were never the victim they tried to make you. But now it gets even deeper. Because it's not just the main villain experiencing this karma. It's everyone who played a part. Everyone who contributed to your pain is now meeting their own customized consequence, tailored, fitted, and exact. The one who spread the lies, Watch their credibility evaporate in every area of life. The one who stayed silent when they should have spoken up? Watch isolation become their new reality. The one who laughed when you fell? Watch them experience humiliation they can't escape. The one who turned others against you? Watch their circle turn on them the same way, same method, same coldness, same betrayal. Because this is what makes divine justice so terrifying. It's comprehensive. It doesn't just address the headline villain. It addresses every supporting character that chose the wrong side. Every person who co-signed the attack. Every individual who added fuel, who amplified poison, who played messenger for darkness, and the universe doesn't miss names. It doesn't forget participation. It doesn't overlook quiet betrayal. Because intention is a signature, and every signature gets recognized. Participated in your attempted destruction, every single one of them is receiving a personalized invoice right now. And they're all asking the same question in private, in panic, in disbelief. Why is everything falling apart at the same time? The answer is simple. Because they violated you at the same time. They joined the same wave. They co-signed the same betrayal. They participated in the same spiritual crime, thinking that numbers would protect them. Mob mentality felt like armor. Collective betrayal felt like validation. But what they didn't understand is this: karma doesn't do group discounts. It doesn't run promotions. It doesn't offer bulk pricing. It charges everyone full price individually, simultaneously, permanently. And now they're realizing something they never wanted to admit. You were the glue. You were the reason certain situations held together. You were the reason certain blessings kept flowing. You were the unseen covering on people who didn't even know they needed covering. Your prayers were protecting rooms you weren't even praised in. Your energy was stabilizing spaces where you were undervalued. Your presence was carrying weight nobody thanked you for. You were a walking blessing, and they were too blind to recognize it, too prideful to honor it, too foolish to protect it. And now that you're gone, the protection left with you. Watch what happens in the spaces you used to occupy. Drama multiplies. Chaos intensifies. Nothing flows like it used to. Everything feels heavier. People become restless. Confusion spreads like smoke. They can't explain it, but they can feel it. Something is missing, and eventually they'll trace it back. They'll connect the dots. They'll realize the moment the peace left was the moment you exited. Because when you withdrew, favor withdrew. When you removed yourself, divine covering removed itself. When you stopped holding the line broke. And this is the part that makes them sick, because they didn't just lose you. They lost what came with you, the grace you carried, the wisdom you offered, the energy you brought, the balance you maintained. You were doing things spiritually they couldn't see, holding space energetically they didn't understand, maintaining a frequency that kept certain demons at bay. And the second you stepped out, those demons stepped in. Now pause right here, because I need to say something clearly. This next part matters. It's easy to watch videos about chosen ones. It's another thing to live like one. If you're still here listening, it means this message is finding you for a reason. But talk is cheap. Chosen ones move differently. Chosen ones take action. That's why I built Destiny Engine, a personalized sequence designed to help you rewire betrayal into transcendence, turn isolation into sacred power, and transform their downfall into your rise. We're taking the Dark Elite's own weapons, declassified consciousness technology that was built to program scarcity and competition, and we're repurposing it to serve divine justice. You put on the headphones, press play, and watch your enemies choke on the rope their own lies created. If you're done consuming and ready to prove you're chosen, start your Destiny Engine for $1 today. Join the Obsidian Inner Order live checks and watch divine justice accelerate in your life. Link in the description. Now back to the truth they can't escape. Remember when they laughed? Remember when they celebrated your pain? Remember when they declared you were finished? They're not laughing anymore. The celebration has stopped. And declarations? They're definitely not being made now, because what's unfolding is too obvious to deny. Because what's happening to you is defying every prediction they made. You're rising, and not in some quiet little way they can ignore. You're rising loud, visible, unmistakable, undeniable. Doors are opening that shouldn't make sense. Connections are forming that feel impossible. Opportunities are appearing that you didn't even chase. And every single one is a direct slap in the face to everyone who wrote you off. Because your comeback isn't just elevating you, it's humiliating them. It's proof they were wrong about everything. They said you were weak, but you're standing stronger than ever. They said you were broken, but you're more whole than you've ever been. They said you'd never recover, but you didn't just recover, you transformed into something they can't touch. Your elevation is their exposure. Your blessing is their burden. Your peace is their punishment. Because every time they see you winning, every time your name rises again, every time your life expands without apology, they're forced to face the truth. They didn't stop you, they served you. They didn't end your story, they triggered your upgrade. And now the universe is making an example not out of you, out of them, because it reminds them of what they lost the moment they chose to become your enemy. Watch their faces when they see you now. The forced smiles, the awkward compliments, the passive-aggressive comments disguised as support. They're choking on jealousy, suffocating on regret, drowning in the realization that they had access to greatness and they sabotaged it. They were connected to someone heaven was backing and they betrayed the connection. Now they're locked out, not temporarily, permanently, and your glow isn't just bothering them, it's torturing them. Because it's not only about what you have, it's about what it proves. That you were telling the truth the whole time. That they were wrong the whole time. That their attack didn't stop your destiny, it only delayed theirs. So now they're forced to watch you live the life they tried to prevent while they stay trapped in the mess they created. That's not karma. That's poetry. They're watching people you've helped after you left them. Seeing doors open for others that could have opened for them. Observing blessings fall on people in your circle that they used to be part of. And it stings like a wound that won't close, because they know that could have been me, should have been me, would have been me if I hadn't chosen to be their enemy. Their jealousy now isn't just about what you have. It's about what they lost access to when they lost you. Some of them are having full mental breakdowns over this realization. They're grieving the version of their life that could have existed if they had just left you alone. If they had just minded their business. If they had just stayed neutral. If they had just been kind. But they didn't. They chose chaos. They chose cruelty. They chose to participate in your attempted destruction. And now they're living in the ruins of that choice. They're watching you help people who are nothing to you while they're drowning and you won't throw them a rope. They're seeing you extend grace to strangers that you will never extend to them again. They're observing you give energy to random people that you once gave to them for free. And it's driving them insane because they know why. They know they burned that bridge. They know they contaminated that well. They know they destroyed something they can't ever get back. The torture isn't just that you moved on. It's how completely you moved on. You're not holding on to resentment. You're not plotting revenge. You're not even angry anymore. You're just done. And being done is worse than being hated. Because hate means you still care enough to feel something. Done means you don't feel anything. They don't exist to you anymore. And that empty space where they used to matter is eating them alive. So now they're trying to provoke a reaction. Any reaction. Positive, negative, it doesn't matter. They just need proof that they still affect you. They need to know they still have access to your emotions, your attention, your energy. But you won't take the bait. You're not responding. You're not engaging. And that silence? It's louder than any speech you could ever give. It's confirmation that they're irrelevant now. That they don't move you. That they don't matter. And for people who invested so much energy trying to destroy you, irrelevance is the ultimate defeat. Now watch them try to apologize their way out of divine judgment. It's coming. The texts, the calls, the sudden attempts at reconciliation. And some of it will sound almost convincing, almost sincere, almost like they finally understand. But you'll know better, because you can feel the fear underneath the words. You can sense the panic driving the apology. They're not sorry for what they did. They're terrified of what's happening to them because of it. Some of them had warnings they ignored, dreams that disturbed them, gut feelings that screamed stop, moments where something inside them knew this won't end well. But they pushed past every warning because they were drunk on their own ego. They thought they were invincible. They thought they were clever enough to dodge consequence. They thought your forgiveness would always be available whenever they decided they needed it. They were wrong. Now they're trying to use apologies like spiritual currency, like sorry can cancel cosmic debt. But karma doesn't accept performance. It doesn't accept panic. It doesn't accept empty words dressed up as humility, because the universe isn't listening to what they say. It's responding to what they did and who they were when they did it. And that's why the apology won't land the way they think it will, because you're not the one they need forgiveness from anymore. The debt isn't in your hands. It's in heaven's ledger. And when divine justice is already in motion, it doesn't stop because somebody finally learned how to pronounce the word sorry. Payments, it only accepts energetic ones. And they don't have the energy to pay what they owe. They drained it attacking you. They spent it on hate, jealousy, and malice. They burned their own spiritual currency trying to bankrupt your spirit, and now they're spiritually broke, trying to write checks their soul can't cash. So watch what happens next. Watch how selective their memory becomes. Watch how they minimize what they did. Watch how they soften the details, blur the damage, rewrite the timeline. It wasn't that serious. You're overreacting. It's been a while, shouldn't you be over it by now? Even inside their apology, they're still gaslighting, still manipulating, still trying to control the narrative, still trying to escape accountability. And that right there is exactly why the karma isn't stopping, because they're still operating from the same frequency that created the debt in the first place. You can't beg the universe for mercy with the mouth while your spirit is still carrying the same poison. And you chosen one need to hear this clearly. You don't owe them acceptance. You don't owe them forgiveness. You don't owe them access. You don't owe them an explanation. You don't owe them anything. Their karma is between them and the universe. Their consequences aren't your assignment. Their regret isn't your responsibility. They made their choice when they chose to violate you. Now you're making yours by choosing to protect your peace. And that's not cold. That's not cruel. That's not unforgiving. That's wisdom. That's boundaries. That's self-preservation. Because some doors are meant to stay closed. Some bridges are meant to stay burned. Some people are meant to remain exactly where you left them in your past, learning lessons they refused to learn when grace was still available. And you walking away from their apology isn't punishment. It's alignment. It's you honoring what heaven already decided. They don't get access to what they destroyed. They don't get to re-enter what they contaminated. They don't get to touch what's been marked sacred. Not anymore. Not ever again. Now listen, because this is the part where the law becomes visible. Every ounce of energy they sent toward you is circling back with interest. This is the law of return in high-definition surgical precision, perfect timing. They thought they could weaponize your traumas against you and walk away untouched. They studied your weaknesses like military strategy. They pressed on your wounds like buttons. They manipulated your kindness like it was a tool they could use and discard. And they did it with smiles on their faces, false concern in their voices, calculated precision in their moves. But energy doesn't forget its source, and it doesn't return gentle. What they sent out as manipulation is returning as confusion. What they sent out as betrayal is returning as abandonment. What they sent out as mockery is returning as humiliation. It's mirroring perfectly. Every attack they launched, they're living it now. But here's the difference. You had grace to carry what they tried to put on you. They don't. They're not built for the weight they tried to bury you with. You survived because you were covered, held, protected by something greater than yourself. But they have no such covering. So they're experiencing the full force of their own toxicity with no buffer, no grace, no mercy, just raw, unfiltered consequence. And it's destroying them in ways they can't explain, in ways that feel personal, because it is personal. This is their energy, their intention, their karma, returning home. And watch how they still try to blame everyone else. Watch how they make themselves the victim in every story. Watch how they refuse to take accountability even while their life crumbles. They'll blame you, blame timing, blame circumstances, blame other people, blame anything except the real source themselves. And that refusal, that avoidance, that denial, That's what keeps karma accelerating. Because you can't heal what you won't acknowledge. You can't fix what you won't admit. You can't stop what you refuse to see you started. Meanwhile, you're experiencing the opposite. Everything you sent out is returning to you. The grace you gave when they didn't deserve it. The forgiveness you extended when they didn't earn it. The kindness you showed when they gave you cruelty. The prayers you prayed when they were cursing your name. All of it is coming back multiplied, magnified, manifested. Blessings they can't block. Favor they can't sabotage. Doors they can't close. Protection they can't penetrate. And this is the real magic. Not that they're falling, but that you're rising carrying the exact opposite energy they carried and being rewarded for it in real time. Because the universe doesn't just punish intention, it honors purity. And you stayed pure. You stayed clean. You stayed aligned. And now the return is here. You chose love when they chose hate. You chose peace when they chose chaos. You chose elevation when they chose destruction. And now the universe is showing everyone who's been watching what happens when you plant good seeds. Even in contaminated soil they grow. They flourish. They produce fruit that feeds you. While the ones who tried to poison you end up starving on their own harvest, you rise. You're untouchable now. Not because you're hiding, because you're operating on a level they can't reach. Even with a ladder, they can't climb into your frequency. Your energy repels their vibration automatically. Your spirit rejects their chaos instinctively. Your soul is coated with protections they can't penetrate even if they tried. And they are trying. You can feel it. That reach. That lurking. That sudden curiosity. That friendly message that isn't friendly. That attempt to find a crack, a weak spot, a reopened door. But the door isn't just closed. It's sealed. Spiritually, energetically, cosmically. And that right there is their punishment. Not just what they lost. Not only what they're experiencing. But having to watch you become everything they tried to prevent. Seeing you access everything they tried to block. Witnessing you thrive in spaces they swore you'd never reach. Your success isn't just your blessing, it's their torture. Because every win you get reminds them of what they had and destroyed. Every door that opens for you is proof they were wrong about you. Every level you reach is evidence they never knew who they were dealing with. And you're at peace with all of it. You're not gloating. You're not celebrating their downfall. You're not even watching it happen. You're too busy building your new reality to keep staring at their old chaos. You moved on so completely they're not even a thought anymore. They're a chapter you closed, a lesson you learned, a version of yourself you outgrew. And that indifference, that clean, quiet finality is what's killing them more than anything else. Because the universe didn't vindicate you just to prove them wrong. It vindicated you to prove you right, to show you that what you believed about yourself was true, that what you felt called to was real, that what you knew you were destined for was waiting. And now you're walking in it, living it, breathing it, being it. While they're stuck watching from a distance they can no longer cross. This is what it looks like when heaven backs someone. This is what happens when divine justice moves on behalf of the chosen. This is the result when you stay faithful through the fire and refuse to become what tried to destroy you. You don't just survive, you reign. You don't just recover, you rise. You don't just win, you transform into something that makes winning look effortless. So let them watch. Let them regret. Let them realize. But don't let them back in. Because the door that closed when they crossed you, that wasn't you being petty. That was heaven making a decision on your behalf. That was divine protection removing threats you couldn't see. That was cosmic intelligence preserving your future by severing your past. And what heaven closes, no human can reopen. What the divine seals, no apology can unseal. What the universe marks as finished stays finished. This is your season, your moment, your time. The season where everything they tried to steal gets restored. Where everything they tried to block gets released. Where everything they tried to destroy gets resurrected in a form they can't touch. And the pen they thought they were holding to write your story, you took it back. Now you're writing an ending they never saw coming, where the chosen one doesn't just survive the attack, the chosen one becomes untouchable because of it. Welcome home to who you've always been. The version of you that was always too powerful for their small thinking. too blessed for their broke mentality, too protected for their pathetic attacks. This is where you were always meant to land, standing in full authority, walking in complete freedom, living in total victory, while everyone who touched you with dirty hands learns the hardest lesson they'll ever face. Karma isn't just real, it's precise, it's patient, and when it finally arrives, it doesn't miss.